Hi everyone, so welcome and thanks for today. I'm here to talk about some of the new stuff that we have implemented for the release of Civil 3D 2017. I promise I'm not going to kill you with PowerPoint, but I do just want to give you a couple of, just run through a couple of really quick things just to give you an idea as to like where the product has been and where we're going to be going with it in the near-term future and everything. So with that in mind, I'm just going to give you a really quick roadmap of the product it's just as a whole and a quick rundown of what is included in Civil 3D 2017. And some of the things that I'm going to go over in that quick overview are going to be covered the meat of my presentation, which is about leveraging the corridor model in site design applications. So with that, just a really quick rundown of where Civil 3D 2016 has been. It's been out in the market for about a year now, and so as many of you are aware, we kind of used 2016 as a bit of a platform. So we released Civil 3D 2016, and then we added on a number of these extensions to it over the course of the year. So things like the regional extensions for things like different regions of the world and everything that have different standards and content and that sort of thing. Productivity packs that have included a number of different new tools that have just been incremental new functionality that we wanted to add onto the product and make available to you folks. Transportation extension that we've had out there for a couple different versions and everything. And then we, most recently, we released a Productivity Pack 2 for 2016, which has a couple of new features like the new workflow for extracting quarter feature lines and having the option for the feature lines to be on outside of a site, and then also some new stuff around adding some custom properties onto your Civil 3D objects. And so coming up next, Pro Pack 2 is out there. We actually have a Productivity Pack 3 that is very, very close to being released. So the development team is just buttoning up the last few things that we need to do to get that into your hands, and that should be available very soon, so please keep your eyes open for that. So we're now on to Civil 3D 2017. Same kind of, you can expect a very similar pattern as to what you saw with 2016 for 2018 release. So that's going to mean we're going to be adding or we're targeting a bunch of different very similar things like we did for 2016. So things like productivity packs and the regional extensions and service packs and stuff like that over the course of this upcoming year for 2017. So expect to see things pretty soon coming for the 17 release. But what the baseline of 17 includes, just a couple of highlights here. Things like many of you are aware that while the DWG format has changed for 2017, we did implement a new object model format for 2017. And we did that just because we were to a point with Civil 3D where there were a number of really significant things that we really wanted to do with the 2007 release that we were not able to do if we did not change the object format. So some of the things you'll see in the next couple minutes that I'm going to walk through are all due to we were able to update the object format. So more on that coming soon. And again, this is just a number of different things that I'm going to demonstrate today. It's just a sampling of the things that we introduced in order to just kind of help streamline some of the workflows that you are familiar with and you've been using for a while. So things with quarter modeling and site design that we're really excited about showing people, and hopefully they're going to be able to really help you be a bit more productive with your modeling. So with that, so some of the really just high-level things that we implemented with the 2017 release are these concepts around better options for using corridor design applications, referencing corridors in a project. So that's the whole idea of using a deref for a corridor, so you can deref corridor and share it with different users and not have the overhead of the corridor model in your drawing. A bunch of things are managing derefs and objects in your drawing and in the prospector and that sort of thing. Again, we rolled that extracting feature lines from a quarter tool into the whole for 2017, and we made a number of enhancements to that. Better tools around extracting solids and adding more metadata and that sort of thing. Order model that you can use downstream. And then also another big thing that we did was the ability to manage styles across an organization and have CAD managers have a bit more control over the style for organizations. We might talk about those in some of the future webcasts, but to focus on leveraging quarters and site design. And so with that, I'm going to get out of PowerPoint now, and I'm actually going to get into the product itself. So anyway, really quick overview of what's going on here. So some of you may have a little bit of what I'm going to show here in one of the that we posted for the help that was produced with Civil 3D 2007. I'm going to get a little bit more in depth with that in this exercise. So you'll see here I've got my drawing at just a site here that's got a border with some access roads and everything, and it's just basically just a shopping complex with a lot and everything and a bunch of parking stalls and stuff. And I've just got a three-dimensional over here just so you can see what I'm doing as I'm going along. But anyway, I've got all of these islands in my parking lots, and I've got all these created as feature lines. And so I've got feature lines that are all set up as just these islands and everything. They all have elevations associated with them and everything. And my goal with what I want to do here is I want to just start modeling this parking lot out in 3D and everything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Create Quarter option here. And one of the things you'll notice here with 2017 is we added this ability to use a feature line as a baseline. So when you first come into this dialog box, you're just presented with the normal alignment and profile option that you have pretty much always had in Civil 3D. But we also added this new option here for feature line. So when you do that, you select that, you've got a site and a feature line options here. And if you don't necessarily know which site your feature line is on, and if you don't have it named really clearly, you can just use the pick from drawing tool that's pretty common in a lot of the other areas in Civil 3D. And you can just kind of pick the feature line. It just kind of automatically grabs what site it's on, and if it's named, it has a name. If it's not named, then it gives you the opportunity to give it a name. So in this case, I'm just going to, I have an assembly already created that I'm just going to use. It's just a simple curb, and I don't have any target surface associated or anything. I don't need that case, and I'm not going to bother with baseline regions. So I'm just going to say really quickly, I'm going to name quarter as parking lot, and I'm just going to click OK. And so now you'll see here I've got it just kind of wrapped that curb assembly all the way around my feature line. And as you see here in 3D, same thing. So there's just my quarter model of my parking lot island. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go into the, I'm going to pick my quarter, and I'm going to create a surface out of it. And I'll see what's going on here in just a couple moments here. But anyway, I'm going to create a quarter surface, and I want to create a surface from the feature lines that are created from that quarter. So I'm just going to pick each of the feature lines, add them all into the surface, and I'm just going to click OK. And so now you see I've got my surface there, and in the model view, if I zoom in here, now you see I've got a nice top surface here of that one particular island. So I've got the top of the curb, and I've got it just kind of filled in automatically there kind of nicely, and got your gutter and all that kind of good stuff. So good stuff there. So now that gives me one single island, but what happens now, I'm just going to really my surface to rebuild automatically, which it does. Fantastic. And I'm also going to do the same thing for my quarter. So what I'm doing here with this top surface another good thing that I can do now is, now that I've got that surface established and everything, I can go back into my corridor and I can just kind of add baselines using that same kind of process in the properties. So same thing, I just want to say I want to add a feature line, I want to pick it from the drawing, and it just kind of automatically grabs it there, grabs your site. I want to use that same curve assembly for my region, so I'm just going to grab that and click OK. And as you see here, just my surface for my corridor automatically updated and everything. So now it just added that next baseline onto the surface, and I can just keep on going and going and going to add all of these islands in. So pretty handy workflow to get a lot of information into like a parking lot corridor model pretty quickly. So one of the things that we did to really kind of enhance what we did with the corridor modeling, and what really helps in this particular instance, is we did some stuff to kind of make it a bit easier to model some different geometry corridor model. So in this case here, I'm going to grab my corridor, that's my surface, and I'm going to add this island in the back here, this bit more oddly shaped one with some interesting angles in it and stuff. So same thing, I'm going to grab my baseline, and I'm going to, oops, sorry I missed that, feature line. I'm going to pick my feature line graphically, that one. So now that I've got that, I'll just add my region, same curve assembly, and I'll click OK. So a couple things that here. One of which is that we have this new behavior where you have like these like interior and exterior corners in this particular corridor region. And so you'll notice here that we have the corners are mitered. And so this is, in previous releases of Civil 3D, you would have seen like the really odd bow tie situation going in here, where the incoming and outgoing tangent corners would be overlapping, and you'd get a really corridor model and everything, and it just didn't work out really well. So one of the things we did was this whole mitering capability here to automatically clean up your corridor interior and exterior corners. There are a number of kind of somewhat odd behaviors around some of these things that we're actually addressing in an upcoming service pack. But again, this is just if you'll see here in the 3D view, if I zoom in, you'll see it cleans the corner up really nicely and everything, and it just gives you a nice, a really good way to kind of clean things up. So good stuff there. I'm going to zoom out here, and instead of showing you like going over and over and over again how to show like workflow and everything, I mean, it takes a bit of time to grab these islands and everything and add them one by one, and we understand that there's got to be a better way to do that. But anyway, once you're done with that entire surface, I've kind of skipped into this next drawing here, and I'll just kind of grab that surface and just kind of give you a look as to like how it looks after I've got it all kind of built out in as a corridor model and it onto that one big surface and everything. So you see here now I've got all these islands, and they're all added to the single surface, and the feature lines that are created from that corridor model have all formed this nice top surface and everything for the corridor. So,
Tim, can I interrupt you with a quick question?
Absolutely, please do.
Somebody asked if the mitering works on any angle or just 90 degrees, and that was actually Craig that asked that question.
No, actually it works any angle. So that's a good question. But yeah, it does work on any angle. It's not just strictly 90 degrees. Some of the things that are one of the caveats with the bow tie cleanup right now that we are doing a bit of research around is that it only ends up fixed width lengths. So this is a case where like the particular assembly has a consistent, like the top of the curve is always consistent and everything over the length of the baseline. the width of the gutter and everything is always the same and everything, so that cleans up quite nicely. If you have a variable width link, so in a case like say for example a retaining wall that has a footer that the width varies, or like a daylight feature line or something like that, those varying width links are currently not supported in the corner cleanup. So hopefully that is something folks can watch out for the time being. Hope that answered the question.
Yes, I believe it did. Thanks, Tim.
Great. Anyway, so back into here. So one of the other things that we kind of did around the to help things with like quarters in site modeling and also in other transportation related modeling applications and everything is you'll see here, like just in this, I'm going to jump back into this first drawing for just a moment here, and you'll see here I had this access road to this parking lot and everything. And so if your quarter gets kind of complicated there, then I've also got this add on to this parking lot quarter, things are going to get a bit unwieldy and everything. And then what if one person's working on the parking lot and then there's somebody else that's working on the access roads around the site? What happens if we need to kind of break things up a bit so that like one guy can work on the access roads and I want to work on the parking lot quarter, but still have a reference to what the other users are working on? So in order to do that, we, long-time customer request that we're really excited to implement for 2017 is the ability to data reference a model. So as you see here down in the data shortcuts node in this case, I've just got shortcut created to that roads corridor, that access road corridor, other drawing. So basically what I'm going to do here, same thing as you do with any other data reference in Civil 3D, just right-click it and create a reference. And once you see this corridor reference dialog box here, you'll see a bit more of exactly what happened with the corridor model when you deref it in. Again, a lot of you are familiar with the corridor model. It's a pretty complicated beast. There has a great deal of dependencies on it and everything, so alignments and profiles and all sorts of other stuff that could potentially make up the corridor model. So we added this this panel down at the bottom of this dialog box here to just kind of give you an idea of exactly what's going to be coming along when you create a reference to the corridor. So in this case here, we've got this corridor is made up of like those couple different roads, and it also has intersections with those roads as well. So you see here we've got the couple of the intersection alignments that are coming along, side roads, and all that kind of stuff. And so the general rule creating a corridor data reference is that when you create a reference to a corridor, it's automatically going to bring across any of the baseline horizontal and vertical geometry that it needs to like recreate itself in the consumer drawing. It's not going to create a data reference to any of the like assemblies and sub-assemblies, and it's not going to create references to any of the targets or anything like that. But it is going to create automatically, it's going to automatically create some data shortcuts to the baseline alignments and files. And so in this case, I'm just going to click OK. And again, this takes a couple moments for a somewhat complicated corridor model to be referenced into a drawing, just because, as I mentioned a moment ago, as you guys know, the corridor model can be a pretty complicated beast and everything. So it actually has to go into the source drawing and grab all of that geometry and everything and bring it along for the ride. So as you see here, so now actually it didn't take too terribly long at all, but now in my drawing I have this corridor model, and you'll see here in Prospector my roads corridor, and it's got the data shortcut icon there. It shows what happened. And if I pick into the alignments node in my Prospector, you'll also see I have a number of centerline alignments that came across, curb returns that make up all of the curb returns for the intersections and everything, all came across, as well as did their layout profiles. So we're really happy to get the data shortcut for corridor model at this point, just because we think it opens up a great deal of things that you can do later on downstream. So things like, you're not going to be able to do anything that you would be able to do in the source drawing for the corridor model. You're not going to be able to change your targets and like break apart your regions and make any kind of like really serious edits to your regions or anything. You will be able to use your section editor and things like drive along feature lines to the baseline, and things like extracting your solids from your surface, from your corridor model. You can sheets, you can cut sections and have your sheets live in, or you have your section views live in a separate drawing from your source corridor model, so that should make data management quite a bit easier for people. One of the things in site design that we are pretty happy about that you can do in this particular case. In this case, I've got my top surface for my parking lot all built out and everything. But what happens if I want to do something in this particular area where I don't have a daylight that I have associated just yet and everything, and it's kind of an odd area that some of the daylight subassemblies won't necessarily handle very well. So what I can do now is, now that I've got my data reference to my corridor in this drawing, I can now use the newer extract feature lines from corridor tool, and I can basically just kind of go in here, and now that I've got this data reference in here of my corridor, I can just pick the feature lines that I want to extract from my corridor model, and I can specify whether, if I want to actually grade from them, I can put them onto a site. And in this case, I'm not going to, I really only care about the back of the curb for the time being. If there are a number of feature lines that are in adjacent regions, so in like a case where if I grab the feature lines created in a number of regions, so if I had like a tangent that went into like a curb return, I could tick this box and have automatically join together as a single continuous feature line, so that I could just grade from one feature as opposed to picking a number of them. Couple things that you see here, we've got these feature lines can be dynamic to the corridor model. So, and again, this is a thing if you have this case where I have in this particular drawing where you have a deref to the corridor. When the deref updates, if there were any changes to the corridor that affected that feature line, then that feature line would be updated in this drawing as well. So and then it also applies a smoothing to the feature line as well. It's not as it's not tessellated. So in other words, I'm just going to just kind of grab that feature line, extract it, and now I've got this. I only grabbed it from this particular region, but you see there, now I've got this feature line that I can use my grading tools, and I can extract. If I had done this, if I thought this through a bit better, then I'd be able to extract like this entire feature line from this particular corridor model, one continuous feature line, and then extract the one from this, from the parking lot, and then I could kind of use my grading tools to do a bit of work in this this area in the middle here. So, and again, that's all stuff that you can then have dynamic to the corridor models. So if the source corridor updates, then the gradings will update with it and everything.
Hey Tim, I hate to make you go backwards a bit, but we had a lot of really good questions about the corridor referencing. I thought maybe we could talk about. The first one was about targets. So if you data reference a corridor, do you need to bring the targets along with it? So maybe it's surface targets or that sort of thing.
Nope, absolutely not. So really, this is not the greatest example that I have right here. You know, actually, tell you what, we do that real quick. I'm going to go back into, let me open up the source drawing for this corridor. Open source drawing, and let's just see what happens. So if I go into this corridor model and I add a, let's see here, I can't remember which assembly was used in this particular corridor. It's been a while since I've played around with it. But anyway, the short answer is no, you do not. If I had this corridor model targeting this surface, the corridor model, if I create a deref to it, will not, you won't have to bring in the deref to this surface as well. Really all that's going to happen when you bring in the corridor model, like as a deref, let's see, this is ref, yes, okay. Basically what's going to happen, it's going to recreate the feature line for the daylight, and it's really only just going to create geometry of that feature line. It's not going to actually bring that surface in as a target. It's just bring it in just as a kind of a wireframe.
Okay. Can that reference be promoted? Can a corridor data reference be promoted?
It cannot, actually. That was one of the limitations that we had to implement, just because we're not bringing along like the targets. We're not bringing across the assemblies and sub-assemblies and stuff like that. So we made that limitation just because if you promoted this corridor in its current state, it would know how to recreate itself, because it doesn't have references in the consumer drawing to like the sub-assemblies and stuff like that. So okay. I hope that helps.
Can you extract feature lines from a data reference corridor?
Absolutely, yes. That's exactly, hopefully I answered that question just a moment ago with when I grabbed that feature line, or whichever feature line it was that I kind of grabbed the back of curb. You can absolutely extract feature lines from a corridor. They can remain dynamic to the corridor and everything. And then actually one of the other great workflows that we have is this, we did a lot, I hadn't planned on it, but I'll touch on this. This extracting corridor solids, same kind of thing. You can pick like which regions, if you want to extract like 3D solids from a corridor model, just for the sake of, I'll just grab this one particular region. Same thing, and you can pick like different, we can get into this a bit later and everything, perhaps if people are interested. But you can add different metadata to your solids and pick whether you want to insert those corridor solids into like the current drawing, a new drawing, or an existing drawing. And same thing, maintain that dynamic link to a corridor model. Let's add this to a new drawing just because. So I'll just add this into just solids drawing. I'll extract them. And then if I go and open that solids drawing, that I have my solids that I extracted from that corridor model. I'll show the, I will go get into that a bit. Or tell you what, were there any?
There were a few others. There's a question about can you change how the corridor displays? So I'm assuming the style of the corridor, and all along with that, can you turn regions on and off?
So I don't believe you can turn regions on and off. So, but what you can do, one of the things that we are actually mending for, tell you what, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new drawing. And I will associate that drawing with the project. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a reference to that corridor model. And one of the other things, just while I'm at it here, one of the kind of cool things that we implemented with the 2017 release is that over here in the prospector, both for the data shortcuts node and then also up above in just the general object node, is that you can pick things and then you can also like selectively like control or shift click items. And so what that lets you do is just kind of be a bit more careful about what it is that you want to grab. And then also once you do grab things that you want to create data shortcut to, you can just kind of drag it and drop it into the canvas, which is kind of nice. Speed things up for you a bit. And tell you what, I'm just going to let this chug along for a moment while it creates the reference to that corridor. And I'll show you what I'm going to do in just a moment here. This is all going back to the display issue that you were just asking about, Eric. Like I said, it sometimes takes a moment for the corridor to come in just because there's a little going on with it.
Maybe while you're waiting, you can nail another one. This is a really interesting one. It says, can the extracted dynamic feature line from the data reference road corridor be used now as a baseline for the parking lot corridor?
For the parking lot corridor, yes, it can, actually. Yes, you can extract a feature line from the corridor and use it as a base for a separate corridor. What you cannot do is extract a feature line from a corridor and use it as a baseline for the same corridor. So, like for example, if I wanted to like extract like the back of curb feature line like I did a moment ago, I can't then go into that this corridor, like run in another like assembly along that extracted feature line as a baseline. We didn't do that. We disabled that just because the potential for circular references within the corridor model was just way too high. So, but yes, for a separate corridor, you can absolutely use a feature line as a baseline for another corridor.
Yeah, we actually learned that, I think yesterday. If you try to select a feature line that's been referenced by that corridor, its name actually won't show up in the list. So that was a great safeguard there.
Yeah, right. Let's see. So where was it? Oh, okay. So extracting things, the display. That's what I was going to get at. Okay. So anyway, so you see right here, I've got the corridor model that I brought in as a deref to this drawing. If I take a look at the code set style, so actually back up, and if I go and take a look at the corridor properties, you'll see I can use any code set style that I want with this particular corridor model that I brought in as a deref. One of the things that we added with the templates for 2017 was this no display code set style. And essentially what that's going to do is if I click OK, it just kind of hides all your links and points and everything from your corridor model so that you can then just kind of makes your drawing a bit more clean and everything, and so that it just kind of gives you a bit more of a hint as to like exactly the corridors in there. It's still completely available to use for things like cutting sections and extracting, your feature lines and your solids and all that kind of stuff, but it's not in your way in the plan view and everything. So, but yeah, it's still all there. You can still select it. We left the, I believe, daylight feature lines on or something along those lines in this particular style, just so that you could still see and select the, I forget what exactly we left on, it's in here somewhere. But anyway, hopefully you get the general idea, so that you can still select the corridor, still do what you want to do with it and everything, but it doesn't have to necessarily be displayed in the same manner as it was in the source drawing. Is good?
I think we're good. We got lots of questions. John and I are very busy, and so I appreciate you answering some of those verbally. So please continue.
Absolutely. Tell you what, if there aren't any other like recurring questions, I'll jump into something else that's pretty handy that we did. Safe enough, Eric?
Yes, I think so.
Great. Okay. So one of the things that we did for this extracting quarter solids workflow, let's see, if I want to have all of my regions in this particular quarter, so we added a bunch of options here as to like what exactly you wanted to extract. And so in this case, I just want to say all regions. So, and you can be pretty selective about like where you want things to show up and like colors and all that kind of thing. Some things that you can do here, this is a very dialog boxes you saw in the extracting feature lines from a quarter tool. And so what this is going to let you do is things like if I have my curves, I want to have those as like a different color. So if I want my curves to be blue, for example, I can change one blue and then say I want either all of the shapes in this particular subassembly to be blue, or I want just all of my curbs, any subassembly that has that same curb code associated with it, I want those to be blue. So I'm going to use that. So as you see here now, this curb is blue, that curb is blue, and so on and so forth. I can do that with pretty much anything else I want to as well. So if I want to add my pave as a, let's have my pavement be magenta just for kicks. And I'll do that same thing here. I just want to grab it and have all my pavement be magenta in this drawing. So I can, if I decide that I want to add more regions to extract the solids, I can do that. This is one of the major things that we did here for 2017 was this whole notion of adding property data onto solids when they're extracted from a quarter model. And so what this is going to do is let you take these extracted solids out and use them for like construction, modeling, and other applications, so things such as either Navisworks, BIM 360 glue, and all that sort of thing. You'll be able to see all these properties that you have associated with a quarter model in those applications. So in this case here, like we added these 3 different property sets for the quarter model that are going to be automatically created. And so we broke these into a number of different things here. So first is quarter model. These are all properties that are like associated with like the quarter, like the master quarter. So things like the name, the description, and the baselines and all that kind of stuff are all in this particular set. I'm going to skip over the second one, but I'm going to go straight to this last one here, and this is quarter shape information. These are all things that are, as the name implies, things that are related to just the shapes that are created from the quarter. So things that are related with like the assemblies and sub-assemblies that are in the quarter. Things like the name of each of the codes. So if you see curb or pave one or whatever, those will be carried over into the solids as well. What side, pay items. Location code is a new field that we added to the code set cell, and that is essentially, we added that so that people that are that have requirements for agencies and standards such as like IFC and COBE and that sort of thing can add that particular classification code to their code set styles, and then that code will then follow through into the extracted solids and then onward into Navisworks, BIM 360 glue, and that sort of thing. Next up, what you can do is you can add your own. This is a user-defined quarter property data set. And what you can do here is you can pretty much just kind of just right-click and add whatever you want. So if you have one that is owner, you can say the owner is Tim. You can say whatever you want. You can say things like condition, and the condition is, you can either set a default value that will show up automatically, or you can just have it just show up as empty, and then you can edit it later on after the fact. So in this case, I'm just going to say, I'm going to go to my next page, my output options. I'm just going to bring it into this current drawing and everything, because as you see here, it'll be a lot easier to see those solids once they're extracted, because I turned off that code set style, or I used that no-show code set style for the quarter. So I'm just going to insert it into the current drawing. I'm going to extract the solids. And now that those have been extracted, now if I take a look in 3D, oop, I missed that. There we go. So now if I take a look here a bit closer, and if I go into conceptual, so now you'll see here like that magenta color I set for the pave one, and that blue that I set for the curb, those have all shown up now as these solids. And then now, once I've got those solids extracted, if I take a look at properties for the solids, you'll see this extended tab. It's always been there, but we just kind of added some more functionality to it for this particular case. My solid, there we go. So now that I've picked a solid, you'll see now that I have all this metadata that I associated with that particular code has all come across with that solid, and it's all available on this extended data tab. So everything like you saw, like that owner property that I set as Tim, I had default as, I just left the condition set as default. Now I can say that that is new. If I want to change the name of any of these, I can now say the owner is Eric, and that just kind of follows through and everything. So some of these, it just pretty much, yeah, here's like the code name that came across like from the assembly that was used and everything. So really good stuff. And I mean, again, once you open all of these, bring these solids into something like Navisworks or BIM 360 Glue or pretty much anything else, all of these properties are all available for use as well. Classification code, I'll really quickly show you where that is in the code set style. So if I go back to my corridor and I check the properties, you'll see here's the classification code column. Edit that. You can set that classification code to pretty much whatever it is. So at this point in time, we have this as just a just where you can just pretty much enter whatever code it is you want. So if it's IFC-206 or whatever, you can add that, save your code set style, and then whenever a corridor is extracted into solids that has the curb code associated with it, that solid will then have this ISC 206 classification code assigned to it and everything. So those sorts of codes are becoming more and more prevalent in a lot of areas in the world and everything. And so that's one of our first steps into adding that and better supporting that. So I'm just going to cancel out of that. And then again, since I had that one particular option on that solids dialog where it was keep it dynamically referenced to the corridor, if I change the degree of this corridor model in the source drawing and then refresh it, that the solids will automatically update. So if I grab my corridor and, like, for example, if I just kind of move my baseline, rebuild the corridor, it's going to be a huge mess, but we'll see what happens. So there, I've got that corridor broken now. Now it's all ugly. Now what I'm going to do is go back into that drawing, and if I update that reference, I synchronize that reference, my solids should follow along with that. I must have mixed something up. But anyway, you get the general idea, hopefully. So that's the gist of what I wanted to talk about. Eric and John, any other questions that I can hit quickly?
You know, we had that onslaught of questions about the corridor referencing, and I think you handled those so well. It's kind of quieted down since then. There is a question that just popped in a few minutes ago about how do the solids look and behave in Revit? Have you had any experience with that?
They actually, I haven't played around with it a great deal, but I imagine they should come across pretty nicely in Revit. And because I know Revit supports IFC and that sort of thing, so I mean, I think they come across pretty nicely. I can't guarantee, but.
Question about the corridor and the extended properties. Do you have to promote the corridor deref to view that in Navisworks?
Good question. I don't believe you do. I mean, with Navis, you can also just bring the solids in, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Eric, would you know that?
It sounds like if we're talking solids, then yeah, they absolutely should come along. And I actually noticed a note from John in the questions panel too about the previous question I just asked about the solids in Revit. They are solids, and the classification information would come across as well. So
Perfect.
I think it's all good. It should all work great. And we also had Craig chime in and say that they work great in Revit also.
Excellent. Great to hear. That makes sense because, I mean, we have the, say that the bridge module can go back and forth between Civil and Revit, and that comes across quite nicely. So
yeah, we had quite a few people make some suggestions about maybe adding features or enhancing some of the things you talked about. And I know a lot of them I replied to directly and said, go up to the Civil 3D ideas page and post the ideas up there. But just for the benefit of everyone, if you have ideas on how to improve Civil 3D, whether it's the stuff Tim's talking about today or something completely different, just Google Civil 3D ideas and you'll see the ideas page. It used to be called Idea Station, but we recently changed it to just ideas. But you can post stuff up there, and not only that, but other people can see it and vote for it. And if you get a lot of votes, then naturally the product team looks at those things more closely if there's a lot of support for them in the community.
Yeah, and just to jump on that, Eric, I mean, just to let people know, we absolutely do, as the product team, we do give Idea Station a lot of weight. There's a number of things that are in the 2017 release that are a direct result of some of the things that we saw on the Idea Station, and there are some things that it's definitely an influence on us. So it's not just a black hole where if people log an idea, look at it ever, we actively look at that, and we post comments and we ask questions for clarification and all that kind of stuff. So it's absolutely influences the product app for Civil 3D.
That's awesome. So, I mean, it's a great example of the users influencing the direction of the product, which is just only going to make it better.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a good timing for me to take back presenter and just remind everyone about our upcoming webcast. So let me show my monitor quickly and just put this slide up there to remind everyone about our webcast coming up on June 1st. It's going to have to do with working with GIS data in Civil 3D and InfraWorks 360. Wes Newman will be our presenter, and if you ever, like I said earlier, well, actually I said it, but you didn't hear it. Wes is awesome. He's like a super genius when it comes to InfraWorks 360 and Civil 3D and just about any other of our technologies. He just comes up with fantastic ideas with things. So you don't want to miss anything that Wes presents, let alone stuff about GIS data, which I think everyone will find very useful. So be sure to watch carefully the community site and the forum and the various social media outlets we have, and watch for information on how to register for that webcast. Tim, awesome job. There were tons and tons of questions, so this is definitely something that is on the minds and of interest to our users. So great topic. Tim chose this topic, and it was definitely a home run. So thanks a ton, and thanks to the product team in general for being so willing to come on here and talk to the users, twice a month. I think it's very valuable and much appreciated by the community. To the rest of you, have a great day. Hope you found today's webcast enjoyable and informative, and keep checking back. We're going to keep doing this for the foreseeable future. So have a great day. Thanks again.